Yeah, July. July. July, as we greet in Ladakh. Today, on the 6th of March, I will be sitting on fast unto death, which will happen in stages of 21 days each, extended as necessary. 21 days because this happens to be the longest fast that Mahatma Gandhi kept during the independence movement of India. And I want to follow the same peaceful path that Mahatma Gandhi followed, where we inflict pain on ourselves, where we don't inflict pain on anybody else. We don't take hostage anybody else. We take ourselves hostage, inflict pain on ourselves so that our governments and policymakers notice our pain and act in time. So, I am Sonam Wangchuk, reaching out to the people of the world from the Indian Himalayas, a place called Leh in Ladakh at 3,500 meters, 11,500 feet. Why am I reaching out to you? Today, our planet is going through huge challenges, environmental challenges, global warming, climate change, and nowhere else this challenge can be seen more than in the Himalayas, than on the Tibetan plateau where we are right now. You might have heard about the challenges faced by our Tibetan brothers on this plateau in Dege County, where dams are being built blindly, and generally the environment is exploited blindly. On the Indian side of the Himalayas in Ladakh, we are starting to face similar challenges. Our glaciers are melting very fast, causing droughts and flash floods alternatingly. Very soon, many of us will be climate refugees, and we must protect this. To protect this part of the Himalayas, the Tibetan plateau, which is often called the third pole, it is a responsibility not just of us in Ladakh, but the entire population of planet Earth. This region is the third pole for a very good reason. It hosts the largest reservoir of fresh water after the North and the South Pole. More than 50,000 glaciers abound here. These glaciers of the Hindu Kush Himalayas nourish roughly 2 billion people directly or indirectly, which is 1/4 of the population of the planet. So you can imagine how sensitive it is. Now, to help save these Himalayas, Ladakh and its glaciers and its people, you, the people in the big cities of the world, can contribute in a big way. Firstly, of the two demands, appeals that I always make to the people in the world, first is that you please live simpler lives in your big cities, because your lifestyle, your carbon intensive lifestyle is causing climate change and global warming and the melting of our glaciers. And your unbridled, blind consumerism is the reason for why more and more minerals are needed, more and more mining is needed. And for that, industries are coming up into the Himalayas, knocking at our doors, in fact, breaking our doors to enter and exploit these valleys and mountains. Therefore, if you consume less, if you live simpler lives, there will be less of these minerals needed. There will be less of exploitation, in fact, rape of these mountains and valleys of the Himalayas. So I appeal to you all people around the world to please live simply in your big cities so that we in the mountains may simply live. That much we have a right, we believe. Now the second method, which is why we are gathered here in large numbers, is to expect safeguards to these mountains, its sensitive nature, from governments that are elected by the people. Very few governments in the world have profound policies to protect nature and the indigenous people and their culture who live in these mountains. India, by the way, happens to be one such country that I am very proud of. Right from after independence in the 1950s, it adopted articles in its constitution that safeguard such sensitive, fragile ecosystems and the cultures of the indigenous people who live here. The Article 244, 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution is one such provision which safeguards these mountains by giving the indigenous people the right to make laws about how they want to develop these regions and how much they want to develop these regions as per their wishes. And as you know, indigenous people who live here will always think of tomorrow and day after. They'll not just think of today and me and not for our progeny, our children, our future. Now, this is what the people here have gathered to demand and appeal to the government of India to fulfill, not actually a demand, a promise that the government made to the people of Ladakh. Ladakh, when it became a union territory in 2019, the issue before the people was how now can we safeguard these mountains from business sharks, from mining lobbies, from industrial lobbies. Luckily, to our safeguard came the government of India and the ruling party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, who not only assured us that this region will be brought under 6th schedule of the Constitution because 97% of the population here is indigenous tribal population, and generally it takes only 50%. So we qualify and over-qualify. So with all wisdom and great thought, the government of India promised us to safeguard this region in the 6th schedule. Here, their promises appeared in their manifestos of the election in 2019, which re-elected Prime Minister Modi. The political party of Mr. Modi, Bharatiya Janata Party, kept safeguard of Ladakh under 6th schedule in the top 3 promises in the manifesto. So people of Ladakh were very, very assured that we are in safe hands. Again, in 2020, as if once was not enough, they reassured us when they kept this promise as a part of the manifesto in 2020 in the local hill council elections, which are the most prestigious elections here, and announced that Ladakh will be safeguarded under the 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution. And this time they had kept this safeguard as agenda number 1 on their manifesto, constitutional safeguard of Ladakh under 6th schedule of Indian Constitution, as appealed by apex body and Home Ministry to protect the land. Now, these were the promises made, and these words made us very safe in these fragile mountains, even when Ladakh became a UT and there was danger of all gates open, Ladakh being left free for all to whoever comes and does whatever. Unfortunately, after these promises were made and elections were won, not once, twice, with huge majorities, because people of Ladakh believed in these promises and they did their part and voted for the party, making them win both of these elections. Unfortunately, in the coming months and years, the government went silent, and very soon, reminding them of their promise became a problem, sometimes even threatened with legal action or police action. So people started becoming more and more nervous because this is what the government had promised. And now, after many meetings, the government has backtracked on its promises and are talking of a much diluted version of what is already in the Constitution for exactly this situation. There is no need to invent another article. There is exactly what Ladakh needs, the tribal indigenous people of Ladakh need. So what happened and why did they change their mind? Our speculation and the statements of many leaders from the opposition say that this has happened because the industrial lobbies, the mining lobby, the business sharks have been putting pressure on government of India to keep Ladakh open for all their exploitation of mining and all such activities, which can be very, very dangerous in such a fragile area where all the glaciers of the world, of Asia, are. And therefore, there is a need for everybody to raise their voice to just remind the government of their promise. And we feel it is our duty to make noise enough, or as they say in physics, equal and opposite pressure and noise to the one that is put by the lobbies, the business lobbies on the government, so that the pressures neutralize and government can take a fair decision. We believe that we are actually helping the government to not be bowed down by these commercial industrial pressures, because when the local people and you all supporters of Ladakh from around the world raise your voice, then the voices and the pressures will negate and the government will be able to make a fair choice. Otherwise, we cannot blame them for falling prey to these lobbies. So dear friends around the world, please support Ladakh. Please write to the Indian government, the Prime Minister of India and the Home Minister of India to support and to keep their promise to the people of Ladakh and to the planet and its sensitive ecosystems. We appeal to you to form Ladakh support groups, friends of Ladakh, friends of nature. You could create in your own cities, whether in New Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Kolkata, Chennai, or London, Berlin, Paris, New York, all around the world. I appeal to you to support nature, support the Himalayas, support our melting glaciers, and support the indigenous people of Ladakh. Thank you very much.